In this video, we'll examine the interaction between the fiery skipper butterfly and Bermuda grass and how their distributions may shift in North America under climate change. On the left is Hylephylla phyleus, or the fiery skipper, a small orangey yellow butterfly with brown spots, 2 antennae, and large eyes. On the right is Conodon dactylon, also known as Bermuda grass. You're probably familiar with Bermuda grass, as it is the type of grass often found on golf courses and lawns. Fiery skippers rely on turf grasses like Bermuda grass during their larval stage, and transition to flowers for nectar as adults. They are found near urban centers in warm climates, likely due to human-planted Bermuda grass, and the fact that they cannot withstand harsh winters. Bermuda grass, a C4 plant, thrives in warm climates and is drought-resistant due to its deep roots. It can survive in colder regions like Calgary if maintained, and is an aggressive, invasive species that outcompetes other plants. To begin our investigation, we gathered research-grade iNaturalist observations for both species in North America for the month of June. The fiery skipper shows observations concentrated in the eastern United States, the west coast, and Mexico, with a few in southern Canada. Clustering around urban areas may be due to their association with turf grasses or observer location bias. The map for Bermuda grass is similar to the fiery skipper observation map, although there are slightly fewer observations in the northwestern United States. We then used a BioClimb package in our studio to generate species distribution maps predicting suitable habitats based on environmental conditions at observation sites. These maps estimate habitat suitability but don't account for biotic interactions that may affect species presence, as it is only a correlative model. The fiery skipper's SDM closely follows observation data but shows less suitable range in Mexico and California, likely due to outliers ignored by the algorithm. Similar to the observation data, we see that the majority of the range is expected to be located in the southeastern United States. The Bermuda grass distribution shares many features with the fiery skipper distribution, with little range in Mexico and California, and the majority found in the southeastern United States. Overlaying both SDMs, Bermuda grass is in green, fiery skippers in purple, and overlap in maroon. Their ranges appear to be quite in sync with each other, showing a 79.63% overlap, which is consistent with fiery skippers' reliance on Bermuda grass in their larval stage. Neither species is expected beyond Ohio's latitude, as they are both warm climate species. We can see, though, that the Bermuda grass extends further north, likely due to its ability to withstand winters. In this model, the Appalachian region lacks both species. This could be due to the rocky terrain limiting the growth of both Bermuda grass and nectar-producing flowers. The Rockies may also act as a physical barrier, restricting the species' dispersal beyond them. We hypothesized that both species would expand northward into the northeastern U.S. and southern Canada due to warming temperatures. We expected minimal range loss in the southern United States and Mexico, considering Bermuda grass's drought tolerance, and a smaller percent overlap due to Bermuda grass expanding into areas with winters that are unsuitable for fiery skippers.
To test our hypothesis, we generated forecast SDMs for the fiery skipper and Bermuda grass, as well as an overlap of the two. These SDMs use projected future climate variables for the year 2070. Observing forecast distributions, it appears that the range of the fiery skipper is projected to diminish drastically. Unlike in the current day model, the fiery skipper is mostly absent in the vast areas of the coastal regions along the Gulf of Mexico, including Texas, Oklahoma, and the regions immediately north of them. However, new ranges that were previously non-existent in the current day model appear. A new range, which comprises the largest continuous area of the forecast SDM, stretches across the northern Appalachians from the northeastern coast of the U.S. to the south of Lake Erie. As for the Great Plains, the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest, and the Central Appalachians, the fiery skipper remains largely absent. The projected range of Bermuda grass seems to also be reduced, disappearing from similar regions as the fiery skipper, such as from Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. However, the reduction in range is not as severe. The new range is highly fragmented and seems to have receded from the majority of coastal regions. Bermuda grass appears to remain widespread directly south of the Appalachians, but as with the fiery skipper, remains absent from the Central Appalachians. It also remains mostly absent in the Great Plains and the Rocky Mountains, but seems to have a new range that closely matches the new range observed in the fiery skipper's forecast SDM, a space along the south of Lake Erie straddling the northern Appalachians. When generating an overlap with the forecast SDMs, it appears that the two species share less range. 63.49% overlap, which is down from the 79.63% overlap seen with the current day data. Distinctly, Bermuda grass seems to have a relatively greater range independent of the fiery skipper, remaining in large areas around the southern Appalachians. The grass is also forecasted to be found in a greater number of fragmented areas across the southern United States and in Mexico. The skipper does not, however, appear to have a projected range in areas farther north and independent of the Bermuda grass's projected range, specifically in southern Michigan and small regions of Pennsylvania. Evaluating the different components of our hypothesis, we found the ranges of the fiery skipper and the Bermuda grass both expanded northward. However, they did not expand into Canada. We also expected minimal losses of range in the southern United States and Mexico for both species, and for Bermuda grass to extend further north due to its capability of withstanding winter conditions, both of which were not supported. The forecast SDMs did support a smaller percent overlap between the two species, although our predicted mechanisms were not supported.
Following the evaluation of our hypothesis, we turn to the interpretation of the results, where we examine how the factors identified in the SDM models either support or contradict our initial expectations. Our prediction that both the fiery skipper and Bermuda grass species would shift their range northward is supported by the 2070 models. Both species, shown on the right and left with current distributions at the top and 2070 predictions at the bottom, favor warm climates. Given historical trends, global temperatures are predicted to continue to rise. Therefore, we can anticipate these species expanding their ranges northward beyond their current northern limits around Ohio toward the Canada-US border. This shift was indeed observed, but the species did not reach southern Canada as expected, likely due to insufficient temperature increase by 2070. It was too early to see that large of a climate change that suited both species. Our second prediction, that the southern US and Mexico would see little range loss, was not supported. We expected Bermuda grass, a drought-tolerant invasive species, to thrive in these hot regions. However, Bermuda grass suffered significant losses, and fiery skippers experienced even greater habitat loss. This could be because other plants vital for skippers' larvae and flowering plants for adults may not tolerate the heat and are dying off faster than expected. Additionally, extreme heat in the southern U.S. could cause drought, drying out Bermuda grass. Another issue is the predicted increase in heavy rainfall events. These could damage both species by flooding the plants and washing away nutrients needed for survival, particularly in low-lying areas prone to runoff, or by drowning larvae and adult butterflies. The topography of the region shows low elevation in the same areas where we see great losses in both species distributions. The extreme climate variability, shifting between heat and heavy rain, adds stress, which could harm both species' ability to survive in these regions. The Bermuda grass may have been able to survive better in the southeastern United States due to the fact that the fiery skipper is dependent on it for developmental stage, whereas the opposite cannot be said. We also hypothesized that Bermuda grass would extend north more than the fiery skipper due to its ability to withstand colder conditions. Contrary to our prediction, the fiery skipper's range extended further north than Bermuda grass. We thought Bermuda grass would expand further north due to its tolerance of mild winters, but the fiery skipper moved more northward, likely finding ecological niche hotspots that were well suited for it. The fiery skipper's ability to fly to new areas and rely on existing turf grass likely made it more successful in its northward spread compared to the Bermuda grass's slower seed dispersal that relies on other animals. Finally, we predicted that the overlap between the species' range would decrease, which it did, but not as expected. In the 2070 model, the fiery skipper expanded further north, leaving Bermuda grass in some southern areas, and both species lost range in the central south. While the overlap decreased, the reasons for this were far more complex than we anticipated. This model offers insights into species movement but has limitations, as it only considers abiotic factors and ignores plant-animal interactions and adaptation. A mechanistic model would improve predictions by including these factors, offering a clearer understanding of species behavior. If the fiery skipper's range continues to shrink, its genetic diversity could decline, making it more vulnerable and possibly leading to speciation due to population isolation. Future research should explore how the fiery skipper and Bermuda grass interact with other species, especially since Bermuda grass is invasive. To track population decline, we could compare genetic samples over time to detect genetic diversity loss and speciation.